I was reborn the day my sister and I were told to choose our husbands. That was the moment I realized. I could hear other people's thoughts. The first voice I heard wasn't mine, it was hers. This time I need to find the best husband before she does. Her words echoed in my skull like a cold slap. At that very moment, she reached out, soft and casual, and snatched away the gentle husband I had once married in my previous life, leaving me to face the brutal man who had beaten her black and blue. I almost laughed. Did she really think Ethan was a good man? The Ethan Carter I once married, mild on the surface, sweet with his words, a victim of his illegitimacy perhaps, but behind closed doors, Ethan had a different face. A crueler one. He hadn't raised his voice when he hit me. He hadn't flinched when he locked me out in the snow. His smile was always there. Just never for me. So yes, take him, Sophia. Take every inch of that smiling monster. Because this time, I won't be the one to suffer. Once again, I sat at the Carter family's long dining table, across from two men. Logan Carter, the eldest son, sharp features, eyes like winter, known for being ruthless in business and even colder in his personal life. And Ethan, technically illegitimate, but beloved by the public for his polished manners and easy charm. Two brothers, one choice. I watched my sister glance sideways at Ethan, her eyes filled with ambition behind a practiced blush. Wed for me, I'm going to take you away. That was when it hit me fully. I hadn't just been reborn, she had too. Of course, that's why her thoughts were so familiar, so desperate. In our last life, she had married Logan and suffered. Now she was back to rewrite her story. By stealing mine, I leaned back slightly, a smirk forming on my lips. Sophia moved quickly, gliding over to Ethan and sitting beside him like a bashful heroine in a romance novel. Hello, my name is Sophia Evans. I like you. She even tilted her head just a little, like it hurt to be this cute. I could practically hear the internal applause in her head. Perfect. That should do it. Now she'll be stuck with Logan. Let's see how she survives this time. At the head of the table, my father clapped his hands, pleased with how smoothly things were going. All right, then. Susan, since your sister has chosen Ethan Carter, you will marry Logan Carter. Sophia's eyes flicked toward me, shimmering with satisfaction. This time, you can take the beatings for me. Oh, how little she knew. I turned to Logan slowly, meeting his eyes without flinching. He didn't smile, he didn't even blink, but something in his gaze paused. For just a second, I smiled politely. Mr. Carter? I said softly. It's a pleasure to meet you again. Sophia had previously been married to Logan. Logan was a successful businessman who was always preoccupied with work and was known for being emotionally detached. My sister had tried numerous times to get close to him, but she was always beaten and thrown out of his room. Eventually, because she never had a child, Mrs. Carter declared her infertile and expelled her from the family. Meanwhile, I'd married Ethan. Even though he had little power in the Carter household, he provided me with food and comfort. He took me shopping for meals and lavished me with attention. Everyone in the Carter household knew how much he cared about me. When Logan died from poisoning, Ethan inherited the Carter family's business, and my status in the household skyrocketed overnight. My sister, consumed by jealousy, purposefully drove her car into me while I was out shopping, killing us both. Okay, Dad, I responded with a smile. Logan appeals to me as well. Then I walked over and sat down beside Logan Carter. I had to admit that this man had a powerful presence. When I sat down, I felt a chilling aura surround me, making me hesitant to speak. No wonder my sister had suffered so greatly in her previous life. I tried to hear his thoughts, but I got nothing. However, as Ethan turned to smile at Sophia, I listened to his voice in my head. What a stunning little doll. A shiver ran down my spine instinctively. I grabbed Logan's hand. Despite his cold demeanor, his hands were unexpectedly warm. Feeling my touch, he turned to look at me. I quickly let go, and he remained silent after that. Even though Logan appeared intimidating, I felt that staying with him was far preferable to being with Ethan, the venomous snake. This time, I was determined to reverse my tragic fate. I would make my own money so that I would not have to rely on anyone else. In my previous life, we had a wedding together. We also got married on the same day. Logan hadn't even shown up for the ceremony at that point, while Ethan had arrived early in the morning, causing everyone to believe he was the more considerate husband. History repeated itself as Ethan, dressed in a white suit, hurried over and carried Sophia away. She gave me a smug look as they passed. Look, Susan, where is Logan? Didn't he come and pick you up? She sneered. I just smiled. Sophia, there's no need to worry. Simply take care of yourself. Her face darkened as I spoke and she choked up. Go ahead and laugh now. Let's see if you'll still be laughing when you're the one being beaten. With that in mind, Ethan Carter took Sophia downstairs. but it was still too early to say who would have the last laugh. Logan Carter did not attend the wedding, as he had done in the past, leaving my sister and me to deal with endless gossip and judgmental stares. Sophia was overjoyed, unable to contain her excitement as she clung to Ethan and exclaimed, "I love you, Ethan." Then he kissed her. After the kiss, she turned to look at me. Her lips remained wet with saliva. I knew she expected to see me humiliated, but I wasn't stupid. Unlike my previous self, who stormed out in rage, giving everyone and the Carter family the perfect scandal to gossip about, I would not repeat the mistake. In my previous life, everyone had criticized Sophia for being immature and unfit to be the Carter's eldest daughter-in-law. As a result, after the wedding, Mrs. Carter never showed her any kindness, making her life in the Carter household miserable while smiling politely. I took up the microphone and addressed the crowd below the stage. Logan had an important business deal to finalize today, so I'll be making the rounds at his place for the wedding toast. I hope you don't mind that I mentioned that the guests' murmuring had stopped. Mrs. Carter, seated at the main table, gave me a look of renewed appreciation. The Carters were a prestigious family who cared deeply about their reputation. In such situations, a daughter-in-law must maintain her poise and calm. Sophia noticed Mrs. Carter's reaction, and her eyes widened with irritation. "Disgusting," she sneered in her thoughts. "Please wait. When it comes time for the tea ceremony, I will make sure you embarrass yourself." To be honest, I found the ability to hear other people's thoughts extremely useful. It felt like having a cheat code for life. Everything became much easier once the tea ceremony started. I calmly lifted my gown and approached Mrs. Carter. Sophia kept her gaze fixed on me, mentally counting down 1, 2, 3. I took a last-second sidestep to avoid whatever she had planned. Instead, she lost her balance and landed hard on the floor, spilling tea all over herself. "Oh no, are you okay?" Ethan reached out to help her up, but I could hear him scoffing in his mind. What an idiot. The entire room turned to look our way. Mrs. Carter's face turned dark with reckless displeasure. "Do you even resemble a proper daughter-in-law?" "I'm sorry, Mom. It was not on purpose," Sophia stammered, attempting to hide her embarrassment, but the unwillingness in her eyes was apparent. If I were her, I would have just accepted the loss and focused on living quietly, but she wasn't willing to let me have peace, so that I wouldn't be so easy on her. Sophia made a fool of herself, so the wedding ended in an awkward rush from start to finish. Mrs. Carter never gave her a kind look, but when she turned to face me, her eyes were filled with approval. She even took my hand and greeted me warmly. "Susan, tonight, I will make sure Logan comes home to keep you company. He should make it up to you." And Logan did return that night. When he walked through the door, he loosened his tie, his face flushed with exhaustion. I quickly moved forward to take his jacket. "Logan, you must be tired today." I spoke gently. He simply glanced at me and said nothing. In my previous life, the servants had gossiped about Logan's disappearance on our wedding night. My sister had waited alone in the bridal chamber, becoming the laughingstock of the entire family. When she went to Mrs. Carter to complain, she was chastised. Instead, she admitted that she could not win a man's heart. While Logan was in the shower, I made his bed, brewed some tea, and cleaned up the couch for myself to sleep on. When he came out and saw the scene, his eyes lit up with surprise. I quickly explained that he sleeps on the bed. "I will take the couch." He narrowed his eyes while studying me. "Susan, are you trying to play hard to get dressed in just a bathrobe?" His chest was slightly exposed. Beads of water remained on his skin. I had to admit, his physique was incredible. I quickly averted my eyes. We have no real feelings for one another. Sharing a bed would be inconvenient for both of us if possible. I'd like to propose a partnership. Logan raised his eyebrow. "What do you mean? After all, our marriage is simply a business arrangement. Many couples in our situation live separate lives and only put on a show for others. I married you to provide a stable and comfortable life. I do not expect love to hear my words." He smirked. "You're smart. That works for me too. I can agree with that. I was an ordinary person. I lacked the skills and confidence to control a man's heart in the Carter family." Mrs. Carter's perception of me heavily influenced Logan's feelings about me. I didn't want to end up like Sophia in our previous life, targeted and isolated by everyone who would do me no good. Logan had previously been physically abusive to Sophia. I had no intention of upsetting him and ending up in the same situation. Peaceful coexistence was the best choice. This time, my only goal was to make money, launch my own business, and achieve success on my terms. To maintain appearances, I had Logan post a photo of us holding hands on social media with the caption, "Happy Newlyweds." This way, everyone would think our marriage was fine. As I scrolled through his profile, I noticed how blank it was. Other than this new post, there was nothing else. Someone like him must lead a dull life. Logan took the bed that night. At the same time, I slept on the sofa. He had no concept of chivalry, and I should be grateful. At least he didn't force me to do anything. The next morning, I was awakened by Logan working out. He was doing push-ups while listening to music. I'd heard that emotionally cold men were frail, but his 8-pack abs and toned calf muscles demonstrated his incredible strength. Far superior to Ethan's build. "Stop staring, I am not interested in you," Logan said abruptly, rising from the floor. He put on his shirt and said, "Get ready. Let's have breakfast." I knew what he was saying. He wanted people to see us together, giving the impression that we were romantically involved. Honestly, he appeared reasonable. I still didn't understand why he abused Sophia in our previous lives. I got dressed and left the house with Logan. When we stepped outside, I noticed Sophia and Ethan walking towards us, holding hands. Sophia wore a strapless dress, her collarbone and shoulders covered in hickeys, which she proudly displayed. She leaned in closer, her face beaming with pride as she scanned me from head to toe. "She is completely covered up. She must have been beaten last night and is attempting to hide the bruises." Her inner voice echoed in my mind, accompanied by a smug smile. "Susan, how was your wedding night?" she inquired in a mocking tone. Today I wore an elegant, long-sleeved kyongsong. Sophia must have forgotten that Mrs. Carter despised revealing outfits and excessive makeup, but I wasn't going to remind her. I just smiled. "Sophia, based on seniority in the Carter family, you should address me as sister-in-law rather than sister." Her features darkened. She clenched her teeth and refused to accept it. "Logan never calls you that." "What? Do you have to demand it from me?" Then she turned to Logan. "Logan says something." Ethan cursed as he felt the air around Logan become colder in his mind. "Idiot. Please wait until tonight. I will teach you a lesson." He tugged on Sophia's hand, silently signaling her to stop talking, but she was completely unaware of the danger she had just put herself in. "Tell me, Ethan," Logan asked calmly, "what is the first rule of the Carter family?" Ethan immediately lowered his head. "I apologize, Logan. I will handle it right away." The next second, smack. Ethan slapped Sophia hard across the face, demonstrating proper respect. "Greet your brother and sister-in-law properly." Sophia's face had turned red as a result of the slap. She was furious, but she knew Logan was someone she couldn't defy. She muttered grudgingly through gritted teeth. "Good morning, brother. Good morning, sister-in-law." As soon as she said that, Ethan dragged her away. I remembered that the Carter family's first rule was that no one should disrespect the heir or his wife. Logan, the Carter family's rightful heir, received 30 lashes for improperly addressing them. I remembered that in a previous life. To survive, I memorized all of the Carter family rules. Sophia constantly bullied me after she married Logan, but I never dared to disrespect her because I knew the rule. I'd assumed. Sophia was also aware of the family rules, but she had forgotten them. That's why she believed she could still bully me in this life. By the time we arrived at the dining hall, Sophia had already received her punishment. Her face was pale, and she kept her head down, unwilling to sit. For a brief moment under the table, I noticed Ethan pricking her hand with a needle. "You have repeatedly shown yourself to be a worthless woman. It's entirely your fault that I had to suffer this humiliation." He cursed in his mind, pressing harder each time. In my previous life, soon after I married him, he began abusing me. He never allowed me to talk about it, and I had no way out. I suffered greatly because of him. That was why, Sophia, in this life, I would rather be with Logan than with Ethan again. This time, you chose your husband. Do not blame me. Mrs. Carter arrived, and we all stood to greet her. She leaned on her cane, about to let us take our seats. Sophia was still dressed when her gaze froze on her. She was still wearing the strapless gown. I sensed Mrs. Carter's disapproval. She quickly forced a smile, pretending to be embarrassed. "Ethan was solely responsible for it, Mom. He said he liked the way I looked while carrying his child." Mrs. Carter's face darkened with fury as soon as she said those words. She raised her cane and hit Sophia on the back. "Shameless. What you do as a couple is your own business. But you are not to discuss such matters in public, and you should never dress so inappropriately. You are once again humiliating the family. In my previous life, even a maid was fired simply for wearing shorts. That's why I had always been cautious. I only survived in the Carter household because I was wary." Sophia, on the other hand, always assumed that my good fortune stemmed from the fact that I married the right man. She misunderstood. Why did she believe that a good life had to depend on someone else? "I'm sorry, Mother. I did not know." Sophia whimpered, and sweat beaded on her forehead from the pain. Ethan quickly chimed in, pretending to accept responsibility. "Mom, it is my fault. I forgot to remind her." Despite his remorseful tone, I could hear his inner thoughts. "Which serve you right. Watching you get beaten is the best source of disgusting entertainment. What a psychopath. Mrs. Carter did not reprimand her further, because she was her newly daughter-in-law. She took a seat and told us all to eat. Logan remained silent the entire time, but while we were eating, he casually placed some food on my plate. Sophia had a seething gaze on me, as if she wanted to tear me apart, and she was smiling even brighter. I replied, "Thank you, honey." Mrs. Carter looked pleased as she turned to face me. "Susan, after lunch, you should go to the company with Logan and begin learning as the Carter's eldest daughter-in-law. You must understand the business." I had anticipated this in my previous life. She had said the same thing to Sophia at the dining table. But Sophia had replied, "I don't want to learn. I can simply rely on Logan for the rest of my life." She had willingly turned down a golden opportunity. So when she was kicked out of the Carter family, she was left with nothing. "Of course, Mom," I responded. Logan drove me to the company for the entire ride. I tried to hear his thoughts, but got nothing. Okay, that made sense. Emotions would not move a man like him. He had nothing to worry about. When we arrived, Logan led me to his office. He simply said, "Wait here." Before walking out through the glass door, I noticed him heading towards the conference room, looking both hurried and curious. I followed inside. He was negotiating with a British businessman to sell a formula he had developed. Fortunately, before coming here, I had done my research. This transaction was critical for the Carter family. I could hear the British man's thoughts loud and clear. "This formula is only worth a couple of $100. This time, I'll make certain to defraud the Carter family." I looked at him with surprise. His expression was calm and composed, revealing nothing. Nobody would suspect the scheming going on in his mind. He confidently stated a price of $3 million. Logan hesitated before responding, sensing an opportunity. The man pressed on. "I assure you, Mr. Carter, that this product will provide you with far more value than $3 million. Just as Logan was about to agree, I pushed the door open and entered. "Hello," I greeted them in English. Then I picked up the bottle of skincare serum he had created and carefully examined it. "I am a woman. I have a better understanding of skincare products than most. Your formula only includes whitening ingredients. It has no anti-aging or wrinkle-reducing properties, and as an engineer, you should be aware that surface whitening effects are minimal at best. So, tell me why this formula is worth $3 million. The British man was stunned. Logan leaned back, watching me with interest but not interrupting. I took it as a silent invitation to continue. However, I did add, "Because this is a foreign product and you've done a lot of social media promotion. Many people already know and trust your brand. So I'm going to offer you this amount." I raised one finger. $1 million. When I said it, the man looked shocked. "Jack, $1 million is already very generous. Think about it," Logan said, his gaze sharp. No, I interrupted. "I'll pay you $10,000 for a formula that's only worth a few hundred. The $10,000 is already my final offer." The room went silent. The British man stood up abruptly, clearly angry, and spoke in broken Chinese. He demanded, "Miss, who are you to set such a price? How am I supposed to conduct business like this?" "Fine. I will not sell it. It's not like you have to have it." With that, he turned away. Jack Logan's voice was calm but commanding. "I will give you $1 million. Sign the contract right now, and I expect you to apologize to my wife." Jack froze in mid-step. His eyes shone with excitement. Logan's decision baffled me as he immediately turned around, and I tried to stop him, but he shook his head slightly, signaling me to remain silent. I had no choice but to hold back. "Mr. Carter, you're an actual businessman," Jack said with a satisfied smile. He then turned to me. "I apologize, Mrs. Carter. I did not realize you were Mr. Carter's wife." After that, Logan took Jack to sign the contract. When it was all over, I still couldn't believe the formula was only worth a few $100s. "Why did you pay him $1 million?" I asked. Logan sipped his coffee and spoke slowly. "You have good business instincts, but you don't fully understand the market. Jack's formula is worthless. I knew that from the beginning. What I wanted was the brand that he created. Although he is not widely known, he has already established a solid reputation among young women. With a little more promotion, I can easily recoup that $1 million." Everything suddenly clicked, which is why Jack was so confident. He knew his brand was valuable. Coming here was the right decision. I was learning things I never would have in my previous life, but I remained curious. "How did you discover the formula was only worth a few hundred?" Logan fixed a sharp gaze on me. I forced an awkward smile. I assumed he did not question me further, but I used this opportunity to make a request. "I'd like to run one of your branch companies." In my previous life, Ethan had no status in the Carter family and was unable to provide for me. I'd always wanted to start my own business and be my boss. That way, I wouldn't need to rely on anyone. When I had enough money, I could leave. Logan looked at me for a moment before smirking. You're quite ambitious. You don't intend to buy the company, make a fortune, and then disappear. Are you in? His piercing gaze made me feel exposed, as if he could see straight through me. How was he more adept at reading people than I was? For the first time, I felt inferior. I possessed a literal superpower. But he still outperformed me. This must have been what true talent looked like. Of course not, I replied with a smile. I just want to find something to do. Logan took a sip of his coffee and nodded. However, you must first learn from me before I allow you to take charge for the next few days. I followed Logan to the company and learned a lot about business, as well as how to navigate relationships and social situations. Surprisingly, one day he took the initiative to invite me out to dinner, and not just any place. It was the most upscale Western restaurant in town. I didn't expect to see Sophia and Ethan there. Sophia had been cutting his steak for him, but when Logan and I walked in, she quickly dropped her knife and fork, looking startled. Susan, you've arrived as well. She promptly recognized her error and corrected herself. I mean, brother and sister-in-law. You're here for dinner as well. The next second, I could hear her inner thoughts. What the hell of all times? Why did I need to run into her? Now, I cannot lose face. Yes, I replied with a smile. Logan and I had come to have dinner together. As I spoke, I took the initiative to loop my arm through Logan's. He did not resist. Ethan quickly stepped forward and greeted us, brother and sister-in-law. Logan did not acknowledge them. Instead, he pulled me to a table and sat us down. Sophia had a furious look in her eyes as she watched us. She was probably wondering why Logan hadn't hit me already. Why had he even taken me to dinner? Sophia was waiting outside when I went to use the loo. Her expression was murderous, just like the one she had when she drove into me in a previous life. You must be being beaten up behind closed doors, she sneered. Stop pretending. Simply looking at you makes me sick. Hearing her words, I chuckled softly. Then my gaze fell on the needle marks on her arm. Oh, Sophia, I responded with mock concern. What happened with your arm? So many needle marks. Her eyes flashed with panic as she quickly covered her arm and glared at me. None of your business. It's just for fun, between Ethan and me. She smirked, leaning in. Not that you would understand. Logan has probably not even touched you, has he? Unlike Ethan, he wants me all night. I am exhausted. She was unhappy, but she still tried to appear superior. I was curious how long she could maintain this facade. That is wonderful, I said with a big smile. I wish you both a life of happiness. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my hair and yanked hard. You are mocking me, she snarled. I frowned. She was still as insane as she had been in my previous life. I struggled to break free, but Logan appeared unexpectedly and without hesitation. He kicked her away. Disrespecting your sister-in-law, he spoke coldly. He towered over her. Do you know what the punishment for this is? I recall the punishment being locked in the underground cell. I'd been sent there before because of Sophia. That place was infested with rats, cockroaches, and snakes. She knew what awaited her. Her face became deathly pale. Brother, I didn't mean to do this, but Logan was never one to be soft-hearted. He never reversed his decision once he had made it. He told Ethan to take her away. I overheard Ethan curse in his thoughts. I hope she dies in there. Less trouble for me. Logan took me back to our bedroom and examined my head. Are you okay? I am fine, I replied, brushing his hand away. She just pulled my hair slightly. I straightened my clothes and fixed my hair before looking at him. But why did you suddenly enter the loo? His dark eyes met mine. You were away for a while. I was about to ask why you argued with her. Again I paused. I couldn't tell him precisely that Sophia had been reborn and was purposefully targeting me. So I simply stated that she and Ethan are intimate every night and are very happy, unlike you, who will not even touch me. That is why we argued. Hear my words. Logan's eyes darkened slightly. So, are you hinting at anything? I quickly realized he had misunderstood me. I'm waving my hands in panic. I quickly clarified. No, that's not what I intended. I was simply explaining why we argued. Logan gave me an intense stare. Susan, have you ever considered doing that with me? Of course not. I blurted it out without hesitation. I told you I only wanted to rely on you for stability in my life. That is all. That was all he pressed. I nodded firmly. He said nothing more. Instead, he abruptly slammed the door behind him and left. I had no idea which part of my words had upset him, and I didn't care. I only wanted to concentrate on my plans the following day. Logan did not take me to the company. Instead, he directed me to the branch office to handle it on my own. I threw myself into running. The company planned to make 10 million every day before exiting. I chased down projects, negotiated deals, and made significant profits. Carter even allowed me to collect my earnings directly. Just as I was enjoying my financial success, Sophia was finally released from her underground cell that day. I'd just finished work and returned home. When I saw her, she had lost a lot of weight but was still well dressed. Her makeup was flawless, and her clothes were elegant. She clung to Ethan as they approached me step by step. "Sister-in-law," she said sweetly. "I've already asked Mom for permission to learn the company's business from you. I want to help you with your workload. But she has heard that very soon, I will ensure that you and Logan die together." A sudden realization struck me. Logan's death in my previous life was unexpected and unexplainable. So, it was Ethan. He was the one who caused it, and now he wanted to kill not only Logan, but also me. I managed my emotions and smiled at Sophia. "Great, you can start tomorrow." I agreed on purpose because I wanted to know precisely what they had planned. Sure enough, the next moment, I could hear her inner thoughts. "What an idiot, please wait. I will kill you both and live freely." So, despite spending days in the underground cell, she remained clear-headed. Too bad. She did not know. I could hear her thoughts. There was no way she could kill me. Logan had died of poisoning in my previous life. I recalled seeing a cabinet full of colorful vials in Ethan's basement back then. He often used them to experiment on me. Sometimes they made me pass out. Other times, they sent my body into overdrive. Thinking about it now, those were most likely his poison samples. Sophia joined the company as an intern. She had learned to conceal her emotions. Now that she agreed to everything I said without hesitation, I understood why she was meticulously planning a murder. Ethan wanted Logan and me to die, but Sophia also wanted Ethan dead. That was something I could take advantage of. It wasn't long before I put my plan into action behind Logan's back and went to find Ethan. I knew him well. He preferred obedient women. That was how I had survived by his side for so long in my previous life. So this time, I dressed provocatively and pretended to admire him. "Ethan, I like you." His interest was immediately piqued. "Sister-in-law, aren't you afraid my brother will kill you?" I bit my lip, pretending to be shy. "I have always wanted to be with you." Then I lowered my voice and said, "And I have something important to tell you." He leaned in, intrigued. "Sophia wants to poison you. I spoke quietly at work yesterday. I overheard her discuss it with a man." Ethan's face darkened immediately. Fury burned in his eyes. "Are you serious?" Of course I nodded. "She said you always hit her, so she'll kill you. She intends to rise to power on her own." Because of my past experiences, I knew precisely how to manipulate him. After hearing my words, Ethan completely believed me. Sophia and he were the only ones who knew his deepest, darkest secrets, violent nature and cruelty. Nobody else could understand that. He spat. "I will make her pay." Then he gave me a sly grin. "Sister-in-law, please wait. You'll be my wife after I get rid of Logan and her." After saying that, Ethan left. Does he think I'm so stupid? There was no way I was going to follow him, so I went directly to Logan. His life had no direct impact on mine, but he had assisted me in this one. He had given me opportunities to earn money, and even spent time sharing business strategies with me. When I entered his office and told him everything, he seemed surprised. "Do you have any evidence that Ethan intends to kill me?" I took out a voice recorder and replayed our conversation. The first part involved me purposefully seducing Ethan to gain his trust. Even I cringed at my flirtatious tone. So I quickly explained that I was only pretending to gain his trust. Logan did not respond, but his expression darkened slightly. I could tell his mood had changed. I wisely closed my mouth. The very next second, he suddenly drew me into his arms. The scent of pinewood enveloped me, and I could hear his heartbeat steadily against my ear. I froze, completely taken off guard. He stared down at me, his gaze intense. "Susan, I advise you to never think of betraying me. This idiot, as long as you are my wife, you must be loyal to me." How did he turn the situation into this? "Put that aside for the time being," I said, shifting the topic. "The important thing is that your brother intends to kill you. What would you like to do about it?" Logan's expression remained neutral. "Let's see if he can kill me. If he fails, he will die." He didn't seem to take Ethan's scheme seriously that night. Instead of remaining cautious, he invited me to a banquet, claiming it would help the branch company's development and allow me to meet potential clients. As soon as we walked inside, I felt the weight of countless stares. Most of them were unfriendly. Men are all the same. If I had known, I would not have brought her along. Logan's inner voice caught my attention, and I turned to face him in shock. His face was expressionless. Was he just thinking that? What does he mean by this? Sensing my gaze, he looked down at me. "What is wrong?" I quickly shook my head. "Nothing." But then I got another thought from him. "She is so clueless." I was stunned. This is what the cold and arrogant CEO in my memory was thinking. I forced myself to remain calm and kept my emotions under control. Logan took me home after the banquet. Sophia and Ethan waited for us in the living room. Sophia smiled warmly as she invited us to dinner. Ethan, on the other hand, could not stop looking at my chest. Then, with a friendly grin, he said, "Brother, sister-in-law. Today, Sophia and I went shopping for some delicious ingredients. Come and eat with us." Could he get any more obvious? I honestly couldn't understand how Logan had fallen for such a pathetic trap in my previous life. The dining table was laden with delectable dishes, but I didn't dare take a single bite under the table. I reached out and squeezed Logan's hand as a warning. But, before I could react, he'd picked up his chopsticks and taken a bite. "It tastes good," he said casually. "Let us all eat together." Sophia and Ethan exchanged glances. Their eyes sparkled with delight. My panic increased. I dug my nails into Logan's hand, hoping to get him to stop, but he didn't even move. I told him that they were trying to kill him. Why is he still eating? Logan and Sophia collapsed onto the table as soon as that thought occurred to me. Mrs. Carter stormed in. At that point, her enraged guards transport these two filthy traitors to the underground cell. They will never leave again. I barely had time to process what was going on before Logan turned to face me. His lips formed a faint smirk. "Susan, I'm not as stupid as you believe," he said. "I've already informed my mother about installing security cameras throughout the house. When Ethan spiked the drinks, we switched them out for poison. They drank sedatives." Then his voice dropped slightly. "But you seem scared for me right now. You're not falling for me, are you?" For some reason, his words made my heart race. "I am not," I replied quickly. "I was just afraid that if you died, I wouldn't have anyone to rely on." He broke out in a brilliant smile. "Is this so?" With Sophia and Ethan imprisoned in the underground cell, I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The two people I feared the most were no longer in the picture. I'd also made enough money. The only thing left to do was bring up the divorce with Logan. But I'd been waiting for an opportunity, and Logan had been extremely busy, barely making it home. I could only wait until the right time. That day, I learned from the servants that Ethan and Sophia had repeatedly asked to see me. I decided to visit Sophia first. Her hair was a mess, and she appeared exhausted, but her eyes remained filled with reluctance. "How did you know I was attempting to kill you? How did you find out?" In the next second, her eyes widened with realization. "I see you returned, too, didn't you?" I smiled as I looked at her. "Sophia, you're just realizing it now." Her face twisted with fury. She lunged at the bars, gripping them tightly, as if she wanted to tear me apart. "You little bee, have been hiding so well. You knew Ethan was a psychopath all along, right? You just stood there and watched me jump into the abyss. Susan, you are so cruel." I met her gaze, staring at a face that resembled mine. She was my blood sister. However, in my previous life, she had personally murdered me. If I hadn't been able to hear thoughts in this life, I'd have died again. "You chose Ethan. You also chose Logan. No matter who you choose, you will never be satisfied. So you're blaming me. But have you ever considered that the real problem is you?" I said it coldly. "You prefer to rely on men. I simply want to rely on myself. That is the difference between us. But why do things always go well for you? No matter who you are with." She screamed, frustrated. "You assume my life is easy." I scoffed. "I've fought for my life every step of the way. I earned everything I own. But you have never put forth any effort. You expect others to save you. That's why you deserve this result." With that, I turned around and walked away. Sophie screamed with rage. "Just wait, next time. I will not lose to you." Next, I went to see Ethan. He neatly folded a blanket. Certain habits never change. His obsessive-compulsive tendencies were still present. He chuckled when he saw me. "Susan, you are very clever." He said, "You're an excellent actress. You know, I thought you wanted to be with me. I was fully prepared to kill Sophia and Logan for you, but you took me by surprise." "You deserve it," I snapped, glaring at him. His face merged with the distorted image of him from my previous life. This man tortured me. My rage grew even hotter. He took slow, deliberate steps towards me. His gaze swept across me from head to toe. He muttered, "If I weren't locked up here, I would pin you down and inject you with something that would make you feel completely blissful." I couldn't listen any longer. "Ethan, you're going to rot in hell." I spat before turning and running away. Even after I left the underground cell, my breathing was unsteady. I couldn't get rid of the image of his insane expression, but at least in this life, I had finally escaped him. Logan returned home that night, intoxicated. When he entered the bedroom, he stumbled forward and collided with me. We both fell to the floor. "You've gotten drunk," I muttered, attempting to push him off. "I will make you some sobering tea." But he did not move. Instead, he began unbuttoning his shirt, his piercing eyes fixed on mine with fierce possessiveness. I froze. In that moment, I realized he was not drunk at all. "Logan, please think carefully about what you are doing," I said. My voice firm. "And I are just partners. You're not allowed to touch me. He quickly covered my mouth and whispered in my ear, "No matter what you are, my wife and I will touch you." I shoved him away. "No, I want a divorce. You cannot touch me." The room fell utterly silent. Logan's face darkened. He gradually released me. His expression was unjustified. I knew it. He muttered, "I knew you were going to leave me." There was something about how he said it. He sounded defeated. "Susan, you are a heartless woman." He asked, "Have you already forgotten me?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" His deep black eyes locked on mine. "Do you remember Chase?" His words transported me back to my childhood memories. I was still in elementary school then. A boy with long hair would always wear a mask. The other kids were constantly mocking him, calling him weak and girly. But I stood up for him, protecting him from their taunts and leading him to the back of the school. "You cannot be this timid." I told him he needed to learn to protect himself. He slowly lifted his head and removed his mask. "Thank you," he spoke softly. "I just want to grow my hair out so I can donate it to my aunt. She has cancer." That was the first time I saw his face, and I was stunned. He was extremely handsome. I fell for him at first sight. From that day forward, I remained by his side, protecting him. Every day, he told me his name Chase. Later, his aunt died, and he moved away. "I've been looking for you for years." Logan kept his voice low until I realized I could hear your thoughts. "I had no idea you were the person I was looking for, because I could only hear your thoughts." He gave a small, bitter chuckle. "I never revealed myself because I waited for you to approach me. First, I wanted to know if you still remembered me." His voice became even softer. "Then one day, I overheard your thoughts. You said you'd leave me once you saved up 10 million. His eyes became red. "That is why I have been avoiding you for the past few days. I didn't want to face the fact that you were going to leave me." I was utterly shocked. I never expected something so coincidental to exist in the world. Logan could also hear people's thoughts, and I realized he had been testing me the entire time. "So that's how you knew I could listen to your thoughts?" He muttered. "You purposefully thought those things to confirm it, didn't you?" I lowered my gaze. "I apologize. I never intended to use you. I was simply afraid of being abandoned again. That's why I decided to save up enough money and leave on my terms." "Do you still want to leave me now?" he asked. I shook my head before deciding to go because I didn't think he loved me. I thought staying by his side would never bring me. So I chose to walk away. Because I thought loving him would only lead to heartache. I thought I was better off trusting no one but myself. But now I understood. He had been chasing me all along, waiting, hoping, praying I would stay. And suddenly, everything clicked. In my previous life, he had rejected Sophia so fiercely because deep down, he knew. She wasn't me. She never had been. And that's why he never touched her. The weight of that truth settled in my chest like a warm light. Then I felt it, soft and trembling, his lips pressing against my cheek. "Suzanne," he whispered, voice unsteady, "stay with me forever." Tears welled in my eyes. My heart finally let go of everything it had been holding. "Yes," I choked out, "indefinitely. Because in this life, this second chance, I didn't miss the one person I was meant to love. And this time, I was choosing him too." Do you believe in second chances at love? Subscribe for more stories that make your heart skip a beat. Comment below if someone once waited for you, or if you're still waiting. And don't forget to share this with someone who still believes in destiny. Because sometimes, the love you're meant for finds its way back.